In Fairfield County, something new comes across my desk every day. Crimes are committed, cases are solved, and a community is made safe by the hardworking employees of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phelan, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a number of the radio affiliates here in Lancaster. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. This program is actually shot at Fairfield Christian Academy. I appreciate the students here. Our executive producer is Kelly Roberts behind the scene, lines the guests up, gets a lot of good questions together before the program, and do appreciate her effort. Well, we have with us today Deputy Shane Skeen. Glad to see you.
Thank you.
And we were talking before airtime. It's been a couple years since you've been here.
Yes, sir.
And, well, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career with the Sheriff's Office. You've been up there, how many years? Over 20 now, isn't it?
Yeah, about 23. I'm in my 24th year now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, started back in 1993, and I've done just about everything at the Sheriff's Office you could want to do or have to do.
Okay.
I currently assigned to the SORN division, which is Sex Offender Registration Notification.
And what does that entail?
Basically, I'm responsible for now it's 146 registered offenders in the Fairfield County area. They're required to register with me either every 90 days, every 6 months, or once a year.
Okay.
They have to keep me up to date on where they live, where they work, if they attend school. They basically have to tell me everything that's going on in their life.
Okay. And then how do people become offenders where they have to report to you? How does that work?
Well, there's a whole plethora of different charges they can do. The biggest misconception about a child offender, or I should say a sex offender, is that the victims are always children.
Okay.
That is not true.
Okay.
Probably 30 or 40% of my caseload are adult offenders, that their victims were adults, that it could be something along the lines of rape or sexual battery.
Okay.
It could actually go down to a simple kidnapping with sexual motivation.
Okay.
That would require them to be a Tier 3 or a Tier 2 registered sex offender, and they would be required to come see me every 90 days or every 6 months.
Okay.
The biggest majority are child victim offenders. And by that, what I mean is it could be a gross sexual imposition. It could be as far as a senior in high school, being the age of 18, and having sexual relations with someone that's a freshman that is only 15, because in the state of Ohio, consensual age is 16. So
okay.
Therefore, these individuals, I have numerous people that registered as an offender because of a simple choice they made in high school.
And depending on the seriousness of the offense, is that how long they would report to you?
Yes. There are 3 different tiers. There's Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Tier 3 is a lifetime registrant, someone that will come see me for the rest of their life every 90 days. Tier 2 is 25-year registrant, and they come see me every 6 months. And then a Tier 1 is a 15-year registrant, and they only have to see me once a year unless something in their life changes. If they change addresses, maybe their vehicle registration has changed, they've gotten a new vehicle, they have to come and give me all that information.
Well, how does that work, like when you have someone that would move away to another state, or someone that would move into Ohio?
Now, if it's someone moving from another state to Ohio, within moving to Ohio, they have 3 days to notify our office if they're living in Fairfield County. And typically, we have a nationwide network that we work off of, and I'll receive notification prior to them moving. If it's an offender that lives in the state of Ohio and they're moving out of the state, then they're required to register with me prior to leaving. So therefore, I go into the computer, I put in their destination, their address of the city, state, everything that they're going to move in. And then what we call the SORN porthole, we'll send it to that agency or that state in another area.
So the tier system, is that specific to Ohio, or is that across the United States?
Well, that is specific to Ohio. Now, each state has their own laws as far as, if you look at, I think, Wisconsin and Florida, maybe it's West Virginia, they're mandatory lifetime. Regardless of what tier you are, you have to register as a lifetime offender.
Are there some states that do not have any registration, or is it pretty consistent?
It's pretty consistent across the country now.
Okay.
That for certain crimes, there is a registration or registrant for, everybody. They have to register.
And so, when did Ohio start doing registering? Sex
It was back. It would have been. The law took effect. Well, I should say it was in the late '90s when they started it, and they really didn't get it right. It actually had to go through several steps.
Okay.
And we're kind of on the right path. They did a lot of things like grouped people together. They said that if you've ever been convicted of a crime that fits this category, now you have to be a registrant.
Okay.
Well, Supreme Court ended up ruling no, that's not the truth. You have to have certain notifications. You have to have certain hearings.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you were convicted prior to July 31st of 2003, you're exempt from a lot of the rules that apply. You may still be a registrant, like what we call a sexual predator, and have to register for a lifetime. But let's say a rule of living within 1,000 feet of a school, you're exempt from that. So sometimes we'll get people to move into a neighborhood and it'll be a block from the school. And then I get 30, 40 phone calls saying, wait a minute, it's a school, he can't live there.
Well, let's talk about that. Where are offenders not permitted to live? Like,
Well,
I've heard different, like near nurseries, there's certain things that there's some
Right,
prohibitions on.
there's some qualifications. And if it was after July 1st of 2007,
Right, and that's because that's offenders after that date because
Right.
they didn't want to go retroactive to people 20, 30 years ago.
right, and
or
that
10
has
years
to do
ago.
with
Right.
the Supreme Court ruling. So
Right.
if you were convicted after July 1st of 2007, so we'll deal with just a current registrant or someone that's just been convicted.
Okay.
They're not allowed to live within 1,000 feet of a school
Okay,
and or a daycare center.
okay,
Parks in the state of Ohio don't apply.
okay.
So basically, those are the two big. Now, when I say daycare center, I mean a center that watches children that has signage. So your typical babysitter that has 3 or 4 kids that they babysit for their husband's coworkers or something like that, that does not apply to it.
And interestingly enough, although they have to live so far from a school, that doesn't say they can't walk across the school property. That doesn't say they can't go to school if there's an event.
Right. Exactly. And a school is basically like any other property. If an offender doesn't have a reason to be there, like if they don't have a child that is enlisted in that school, then the school can actually trespass them from there. However, in a lot of misconception and a lot of things that we run into is if someone has committed a crime and they've paid for it, they've done their time, and they're merely a registered sex offender, that doesn't mean they can never go to a school again. I have quite a few offenders that have children that attend schools, and they will go to their basketball games. And the way I look at it is their children shouldn't be punished for a poor decision that their parents made. And that may have been 15 years ago that they made this decision.
Is there any common denominator on who the offenders are?
Wow, no, there really isn't.
Ages or anything that's
No, we have juvenile offenders to elderly offenders. I have seen, I think my oldest offender right now is in his early 80s, and my youngest is 12 or 13. Their crimes vary, their ages vary, and most people seem to think that men are the only people that commit these crimes. No, I have several women that are registered sex offenders also.
Yeah, that's surprising. But the majority are probably
The majority are men. I only have just a couple actual women sex offenders.
And let's talk a little bit about the recidivism. How often do these people reoffend?
There's a bunch of different studies out there, and one of the rules actually say that once an offender, always an offender. There was a Supreme Court ruling once that actually said that it allows law enforcement to obtain search warrants and other things easier with a previous offender.
Okay.
Studies now are showing a little less that you don't have recidivism, and I think it's more to do with education. I think it more has public awareness. Our website is huge. Getting people to visit our website, look for offenders in your area, register for email notifications because not everybody is notified.
Right.
Only certain offenders, like a Tier 3 offender, if they live within 1,000 feet of your residence, when they move in, I will send you a flyer that tells you that John Doe moved into this residence, but only 1,000 feet within your residence.
Okay.
If you want to be notified and you want to know who's in your area, then if you go to our website, there's actually a little blue box on the website that you click for sex offenders, and you can register for email notifications, and then you'll get emails, and you set your own parameters. If it's within 5 miles of your residence or within 2 miles of your residence.
So our viewers and listeners today, if they want the email alerts, they just go on the Sheriff's Office website, which is www.sheriff.fairfield.oh.us, and then they can get into that program and be notified.
Yeah, they can search their area. They can
How many
search
people are getting email notifications?
Approximately, I looked this morning, it was just under 17% of the population in Fairfield County, which is probably about third in the state right now. It's kind of high. They say if you can obtain 15% of email notifications in your county for population, it's really good. I myself would like to get to 20%. The more people that are aware of what's going on around them,
Right.
The more that, we're going to keep people safe.
Right. So, what happens? I mean, if someone moves into an area or a neighborhood, do you get like calls from people or parents and things like that?
Oh, by my phone, I receive probably 10 to 15 voicemails a day.
Okay.
From concerned people. I'll get anything from Johnny down the street. He's a registered sex offender. What was his crime?
Right.
And I refer him to the website every time. I don't typically speak personal about these individuals because I actually have a relationship with most of them. I know who they are, what they do. And it's best to check the website. You can call me. I get a lot of phone calls about, well, why is John living within 1,000 feet of a school? He can't live there. It's illegal. He can't do it. And then I have to explain to him. Unfortunately, John was convicted prior to 2003, so therefore there's nothing I can do. He can live wherever he wants.
And again, when people register, this can be anything from like a young adult had a relationship with a minor, or to the rapist.
Right.
And so there certainly has to be there is a large difference between the threat within the neighborhood of who's living there, right?
Yes, there's a big difference.
Even as far as the recidivism.
Completely. Some of my offenders, they were convicted. I know a handful of them. They're classified as sexual predators. They were convicted 20 plus years ago. They spent 15 to 17 years in prison, and they don't understand society the way it is now. That individual may be a little more dangerous than someone that was made a poor choice while in high school and thought it was pretty much the norm.
We're just about out of time. I'd like to have you back next week and talk a little bit about the Marshals program.
Yep.
And maybe share some things how parents can protect their kids. And even talk a little bit about drones, because I know you've got some expertise in that.
I enjoy that very much, yes.
Well, the clock on the wall says we're about out of time. We've had with us this week Deputy Shane Skeen, and do appreciate you coming to visit with us, and we'll see you here next week. Until next week, same time, same place, Sheriff Dave Phelan, God bless, and we'll see you right here next week.